and welcome to my channel Rapid Vectors. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to all my subscribers and the really nice comments that you have given about my tutorial series. In this tutorial, I will show you how to create a menu for your game. We'll have play and exit, and we'll create a pause button at the top right corner. When you then click pause, you can then continue the game or go back to the main menu and then lastly exit the game. Remember, if you like what you see in this tutorial, please remember to hit like or subscribe. Let's begin by creating our main menu screen. So just go to the root folder, click the UI folder, and let's add a new node. So we'd go scene, new scene, and for other node, let's choose the canvas layer. Just click on canvas layer, and we'll rename this to main menu. Add a child node and choose margin container, and then in the anchor controls, let's just make this a full rect. Add another child node and choose panel container, and then inside of that, choose another margin container. Add another child node and choose the vertical box, and inside of this we'll place our buttons. So let's just choose two new buttons. So we'll say add child node and then search for button. So this will be the first button. Let's just add some text into that. So we'll say play. Let's rename the button. Add another child node and choose button again. In the text, type exit and rename that button exit button. Then click on panel container and just scroll down in the options. And where we have container sizing, we want to change this to shrink center. And this will now position the buttons into the center of the screen. Our next step is to create a theme and then style our buttons. The theme will make it much easier to style multiple controls at the same time. This will then give you a consistent look and feel across your game user interface. However, just before we begin creating our theme, I'll leave this link in the description, and we're going to download the Gravity font pack, and we'll use this font for our text on our buttons. So just download that pack now. And once you've downloaded the font, just take the Gravity regular5.ttf file and let's just drag this into our UI folder. Now once the font is being installed into your game, then we can use that in the theme. In the UI folder, let's create a new folder and call this theme, and let's just drag that font into the theme folder. Then on the root margin container, just select that, scroll down until you see the theme option. So on the theme option, let's create a new theme, and then let's right click and save that theme. So go into the UI folder, theme folder, and we'll just call this game theme. Now before we begin styling our button using the theme, let's just put a background to the actual game screen. So if we just go main menu, add child node, and choose texture rect, then just pop this to be a child under the main menu. Then move this node to be a child under the main menu. We'll make the anchor point so that it's stretched fuller. And then go to the root UI folder. And then in the warped files asset collection again, go to the PNG folder. And in the environment folder, we want to use this PNG, which is the environment preview. So just drag that into the folder and then set that as the texture of the texture rect. And as you can see, we can use this preview as our background. We can then adjust the position. So I'm just going to move it up so the platform is roughly here, and then just move it along a little bit more. So to get a bit of these features, a bit of the platform features and things like that. Then go back to the warped files collection again, but this time go into the sprites folder and let's open the player folder. I'm then just going to go to player run, and I'm going to use this asset here. So I'm just going to drag that again into the UI folder, and then I'm going to drag it onto the game screen. So I've got an asset here, and then let's just position that so that it just fits the platform. And then once more, back to the warped assets collection. This time go to the enemies folder, then choose one of the enemies from here. So I'll just choose this one. And I'm going to bring in this asset here and then just drag that onto the screen as well. Zoom out. Now you can see the viewport will cover this blue line here, and we can actually test this scene by just running the test scene button here. So let's just try that. So let's just save that main menu, let's just pop it into the UI folder. And as you can see, this is what the main menu screen is currently going to look like. So let's begin now styling these buttons so that it fits a little bit more with our actual scene. So go to the theme folder and let's just double click this game theme here. This will open up a default preview of all the components which we can style. And we want to now style the button. So if we just zoom in, we can select the button by choosing the eyedropper or the control picker and then select the button here. We can leave the font color as it is, and then for the font, if we just click the plus sign here, and then we want to choose our font. So if we say quick load, we've already got the Gravity Regular 5 font within our game folders, so we can just open that. And as you can see, that's now being applied. And then let's click this option here to change the font size. So the plus icon again, and then let's just use the down arrow and just choose a better font. Let's just do a better size for the font. And as you can see, this is now looking much better. I'm going to style the margin container, which is nested between our panel container. So we can do this by just clicking the plus button here and search for margin container. And then let's add all of these and pop 10 into each of the options. So we can see that the bottom has just changed on this one. And then for this particular margin, we can now override that style. Now, because the theme is assigned to a control which is above this one, so this is the parent, we will then get theme overrides here. And what we can then do is just tick them, and then let's add some custom options. So we'll say from the left is about 15, from the top is 10, from the right is 15, and from the bottom is 10. Then if we click the panel container, we can then make a modification to the panel container. So go back to the theme and let's add panel container to our theme. Now we want to make the background of the panel a slightly different color. So here we can make a modification to the style box flat. Just add a plus button and create a new style box flat. And as you can see, that's now applied that. And just click it to then make some modifications. So you'll see that the theme will disappear here, but we've now got that particular style on this side. So the background color, I'm going to use the eyedropper and pick something from the scene. This will just make it much easier. Once you've selected your desired color, I'm going to then modify the alpha channel on this. I think that's much better. And that's now completed our panel changes. If you just click off that, you can then go back to the game theme and you can see that that update has been applied. Now let's go back to styling our button again. So we've already set up our font, but we want to set up the look of the button. If we click the style options here, so we have disabled, focus, hover, normal, and press. So a tip here is to always start with the normal button. Let's click the plus sign again here, and then let's choose new style box flat. And what we can do again is do something similar to what we did with the panel. So click the style box flat, and let's begin by picking colors from our background so that it blends in better and has more of the style of the game. So what we'll do is just choose a background color, choose the eyedropper again, and I'll choose something light such as this purple color here. If you then scroll down, you can then choose a border. So I'm going to give a 1 pixel border to this. And for the border color, I'm going to choose something a little darker. So I'll go for the purple. And then just scroll down again. And then for the content margins, which is the margin between the font and that 1 pixel border, let's just choose something like 5, 5, 5, and 5. I want a little bit more border from the first letter and the last letter. So left, I'll just go for 10. And for right, I'll go for 10 as well. Now I'll go back to the theme. And what another tip is just to add the hover, the focus, the pressed, and then the disabled. And then copy the style here, and then just paste the style everywhere else for now. Now let's run that scene. As you then move the mouse over the button, you get no hover reaction. If we click the button, there's no pressed reaction either. So we do need to make those modifications. So let's just stop that. Go back to the theme and let's do our mouse hover. So on the theme, go to the hover option and just click that. And let's just change the background color. Let's just make that a little bit lighter. And that will be enough for the background color for the hover. Let's just run that. And as you can see now, when you then hover over the play button, you get the background changing. But when we click it, it goes back to normal. And that's now in a press state. So let's just stop that. Go back to the theme. And for the press state, let's go to the background color and let's just choose something a little darker. Let's run that again. So we've got our hover state for the buttons and let's just press it and you can see you got a reaction on the press. Let's go back to the theme and I'm just going to copy my press style into my focus style. Let's run that. So now I've pressed it, that will then change the style, but now it's in focus, it's got that dark background. So I'm now happy with those buttons. So if I say play and exit, we're now getting the correct effects for that. So we'll just stop that game again. I'll just rename my main menu root node to be main menu screen. And I've also just renamed my scene to be main menu screen. Now to create the pause menu, I've duplicated the scene. I've then renamed this to be pause menu screen. And if I open that screen, you can see it's exactly the same, except I've renamed the root node to be pause menu screen. And the two buttons I've also renamed to be continue button and main menu button. But when we display the pause menu screen, I do want it to look slightly different from the main menu screen. So let's just go to the texture rect and just scroll down to modulate. And in the modulate method, let's just change these values. So I'm just going to go for something like this. So just make it just a slightly little bit darker and that'll do. Once you're happy with your color to choose, just save the scene and let's go back to main menu. So what we'll do now, we'll start to update the game manager and link the buttons to the game manager and start to play the game, move to level 1, exit the game, and from the pause menu, we will pause the game, allow the user to continue, and then we can access the main menu as well. So back in main menu, click play button, and let's link this up to a script. So go to main menu screen, add a script, and we'll just call it main menu screen and create that. Click play button and go to node, and then on pressed, let's connect that. For the exit button, we'll do the same, and this will give us our two methods. Now in our file system, let's just go to script, and we have a game manager script, which we have placed in our project settings and inside our auto load. So let's just open that script. And the only thing we've done so far is to change the default clear background color on the onReady method. So let's create a new function and we'll call this start game. And when we start the game, we ideally want to start our level 1. We can do this by going back to the levels folder and then just click and drag this in, hold Control, and it will create a preload function which will automatically preload that level. So we just need to add another variable. We'll say for level 1 equals our preload. Now let's create a transition to scene function. So let's just pass this, transition to scene, and pass in the scene path. When we transition into the scene, we want the game to await. So we'll just get the tree, create a timer for half a second, and then we'll return. Now what we want to do is to change the scene using the scene path file. So let's say get tree again and use the function change scene to file and pass in that scene path. Now that this function is complete, we can call this function from within start game. So we'll just say transition to scene. And as we've got the level 1 variable, let's just say level 1 and just pass in the resource path. Just save that and go back to the main menu script. And in the on play button press, the game manager.start game. When we started the game, the scene will transition, so we'd like to then remove the menu from the view. So use Q3 and then we can test the scene. As you can see, that's now transitioned and gone into that game. If we just test it one more time, as you can see, it goes blank for a little bit. Now we could do a scene transition there for that second, but for now, because the transition is quite fast, if we just stop that and go back to our game manager, we can reduce the time here for 0.1 seconds. But really what you would do is you would show your scene transition with a little bit of a timeout and then transition to the next scene. And this is a good place to put loading options. Let's create another function and we'll call this exit game. So function exit game, and say get tree and just call the quit function. Head back to your main menu script and in the on exit button, type game manager, exit game. Let's run that. And if we press exit, you can see that now exits. Let's now make our main menu the default scene. So go back to project settings, general, and in the run option, let's just open the folder, go to our UI and choose the main menu as the default scene to load. Just close that and then just run the game. And as you can see now, the main menu is our first option. We can now press play and that will take us to our first level. Let's now close that window. Now on the pause menu screen, before we continue to link these buttons, let's create an actual pause button that is accessible from the main game screen. So go back to the UI folder, open up the game screen scene. So on the game screen, let's add another child node and let's choose the texture button. We'll make this a child of the margin container and let's just pop this into this corner here. So go back to the anchors and we want the shrink end and the shrink begin. And that just places it here. Now for our pause icon, we'll use an asset from icons8.com. I will leave the link in the description. You can search for other icons, but for now, we'll choose this icon. So just click that. I want to make a modification to the color. So I'll choose white. And then let's just, on the background color, I'm just going to choose black. And then I'm just going to change the opacity level. And then click done. And then let's just download a PNG for that. So I'm just going to tick the 50/50 off and choose a custom size. And I'm just going to make this 12 by 12. So this is going to be a lot smaller. And just download that. And once you've got the asset, just drag that into your UI folder. And for the texture button, let's now assign that texture. And then drag the texture into the normal field here. So we can zoom in, we've now got our texture here for the button. So for the texture button, let's just rename this. We will call it pause texture button and then go to node and on pressed, let's connect that to our script. For now, we'll just leave it at pass. Let's go back to the scripts, go to game manager and let's add a new method called pause game. Once you've created the method to pause again, we just need to get tree and set paused equals true. Then go back to the game screen script and on pause texture button press the game manager dot pause game. Now let's test the game. Click play to run it and then let's just move along. And as we can see, we just press pause. That's now stopped the enemy from moving, and if you just use your arrow keys, you've got no input as well. So that's now working correctly. Let's stop that. So from the test, we could see that our pause button was working. However, there was no way to unpause the game. So what we should do is press pause and launch the pause screen. But at least in the background, we know that the game has actually paused. So let's go back to Game Manager. And what we need to do is to preload our pause screen. So we'll go back to the UI folder and let's just drag that in, hold the control key down and preload that scene. We'll call it var pause menu screen and then scroll down to pause game and we need to instance this screen. So we say var pause menu screen instance equals pause menu screen dot instantiate. And let's add this screen to the tree. So say get tree dot get root, add the child, and then add the screen. So what this will do is add that screen to our game. Let's test that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click the remote option here. So whilst the game is running, you can see that we've got our main menu screen here. Let's just drag that screen back on so you can see it. Let's click play. Then level 1 has loaded, and let's click pause now. And the pause menu has now loaded onto here. So remember just to click the remote option so you can see how the nodes are being manipulated. There is still a slight issue though with our screen view. You can see that the game screen is still on top. So we've got the pause menu here, the health bar, and the coin amount. There's an easy fix for this. So just stop that. Let's just go to game screen and then pick the root node and then just check what layer this is on. So we'll keep this on layer 1. And then we want to overlay the main screen on top of our actual game screen. So open up the main menu screen, click that root node and increase this to 2. Let's do the same for pause menu. Make sure it's on the root node and then the layer, set that also to 2. Let's save all the scenes and let's just run that game. Let's play. We'll run and then click pause. And as you can see now, the game screen should be sitting behind this. We can check our remote one more time. And in level 1, we've got the game screen here, but our pause menu screen is now sitting on top. And this is our desired effect. So let's just stop that game. And head back over to the pause menu screen. Now click continue button, in node, on pressed, click connect, and we need to create a script. So go to pause menu screen and click attach script, and we'll just keep the name and just pop that into the UI folder. Choose continue button again, choose the press signal and connect. Let's do the same for main menu button, go to pressed and connect. Then open up the game manager script and let's create another function underneath our pause game. So we'll call this function continue game, call getTree, and then say pause equals false. Then to add the main menu screen, we're going to do something very similar to our pause menu screen here. So select main menu screen, drag it over, hold the control key down, and this will give us our preload. Then create a variable called main menu screen and scroll down and create a new function called main menu. Then we need to instance the screen equals main menu dot instantiate. Then say getTree dot getRoot, add the child, and then pass in that main menu screen instance. Now head back over to the pause menu script, and when the continue button is pressed, use game manager and use the continue game method. When this button is then pressed, what we want to do is to remove the screen from the view. Then inside the main menu button, the game manager and choose main menu method. Then Q3 to remove the screen. Now let's run the game. Click play and then click pause. And when we click continue, you'll see that the game will not continue because the screen itself is also paused. So what we need to do is just stop that. We need to go back to the pause screen view here, scroll down, and under process, we need to change this process to always. So what it will do, it will always process the window even when we have set pause on the tree. Let's then just open our main menu and let's do something similar here. So on the mode, we just want to choose always. Let's run the game. Let's click play, click pause, and then click continue. I have a slight issue with this because it should be paused and not pause. So let's just run that again. Click play, and then continue. And that's now worked. So let's click pause again, and let's click main menu, and let's click play. As you can see, the background is missing and the game is in a frozen state. And the reason is that we was currently in a pause state, and then when we went back to main menu, we've then done another scene transition. So I'll show you that. If we just close that, let's go to the game manager. And when we click the play button, it will start the game here and do a transition to scene. So we need to check if the game is actually paused. And if the game is paused, then just continue the game again. So we say if getTree is paused, then continue the game, but return straight away from this method. And don't continue to transition to the scene. Let's run this game one more time. We'll say play, pause, main menu, play. And as you can see, it picks up from our last place because we've still got 4 coins on the counter. So let's just check this again. So we've got 9 coins on the counter, pause, main menu, play. Now this brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you like what you've seen, please remember to hit like or subscribe to receive updates of new tutorials. Thank you for watching.